agent. This is the basement floor of the Dallas City Hall.
More caution and protection has been used for this man than anything had ever been seen in the city of Dallas, probably more than had been used to protect the President of the United States. In fact, Dallas City Hall is normally a public building, but today it was really under armed guard.
Jack.
An ambulance apparently had been standing by in case of emergency. It was rushed up and Oswald put into it, taken to Parkland Hospital. Dean said, one man up there said that the suspect, Ruby, was mumbling as officers seized him. So far.
Lee Oswald is currently undergoing surgery for a single gunshot wound that entered on his left side and did not exit. The patient is in extremely critical condition. Dr. Shires will make a personal statement when the surgery is completed.
Mr. Landrigan, you indicated that you had made some preparations for this eventuality.
As I said, our job is to be prepared. We had received word that there was quite a crowd down there, and on the possibility that there might be some type of disorder, we had alerted our emergency room to be prepared.
Some additional information we found out is that early this morning, according to a Dallas police officer, they received the following call. Quote, "I don't want any problems. I don't want any policemen to get hurt. But there's one group that's going to get," when we leave a word out, "that man," referring to Oswald, "when he is transferred." This call reportedly came in early this morning.
There was a possibility they would, but they...
Were they ready to bring him down here?
Yeah, we're outside of the courthouse where a crowd of several hundred had gathered, awaiting the arrival of Lee Harvey Oswald. 10 blocks away at City Hall, that arrival stopped by apparently a bullet. This crowd, when word flashed through the crowd that Oswald had been shot, broke out into a cheer. The crowd has been dispersing for the past 5 minutes, many of them just getting the news. What's your reaction to hearing that suspect Oswald has been shot down?
Well, I can't hardly say what right now, but I think that the people wanted a quick decision on his execution and get him put away.
Also here in the studio, WFAA News Director Bob Walker. Bob, what's new?
Just learned from City Hall from a very authoritative source that police are working on the assumption that there indeed is a connection between Jack Ruby and Lee Oswald, and that in some manner of speaking, Oswald's murder was to shut him up. Also, they have said that they will not release in the immediate future at all any of the information the FBI has gathered which led them to believe so strongly that Oswald had assassinated the president. But the police and investigation now is working on the assumption that there is a definite connection between Lee Oswald and Jack Ruby, and the attempt and the successful attempt on Oswald's life was an attempt to shut him up. This word from a reliable source at City Hall.
Adding, Bob, I might have taken place in Dallas the past few days would certainly indicate that there were no clear-cut defining points involved in the initial assassination. Now this only compounds it. It will be remarkable to find when the story is eventually known what actually did happen. We understand that an Assistant Attorney General from Washington, Jack Miller Jr., is en route to Dallas to confer with federal agents here and the Dallas City Police.
Did Jack Ruby say how he got into the basement here today?
He didn't tell me that.
Did he say he had planned it for a while, Captain?
Some of those things I can't answer for you, and he, of course, has talked to an attorney, and there's certain things that he don't want to tell me.
What happened here today was absolutely impossible, according to police and according to newsmen. The area was very secure. There were police in every possible corner. Yet this ring of security was broken by a man who lunged out between photographers and shot the man who was accused of killing the president. He's going to be taken upstairs to the jail. They've opened the door and he's going to the jail elevator. This is the first interrogation down here on the third floor by members of the homicide squad. Again, this scene very similar to scenes we've seen before, repeated yesterday and the day before.
You are one of Ruby's lawyers. Perhaps you will defend him in this case. I understand that you received a call from your wife at home?
Yes, sir. The police detective told me how he knew it. I don't know, that I had been threatened, and I just talked with my wife.
And what did you tell her?
Betty, and Betty told me she was crying and said that she had received 2 calls that I would be next to die.
From the same person?
Oh, she doesn't know. She said it.
Voice?
It's in a foreign voice, yes.
And what did you tell her?
I told her to get the baby and get out of the house. 9 years old.
Was it a man calling?
Yes.
A man calling both times?
We discussed the case to this extent that I advised him of his rights and what he should do and should not do, and he said he would follow my instructions to the best of his ability.
Are you worried about his safety?
Well, a man would have to be worried about his safety after the things that have happened here in the last 2 or 3 days.
Lawyer Tom Howard, interviewed by ABC's Bill Lord. We understand that he has been selected as at least one of the defense counselors to serve for Jack Ruby, who has already been formally charged with first-degree murder in the death today of Lee Harvey Oswald. These events, these bizarre, frightening, strange, unbelievable events, have overshadowed somewhat another major story in Dallas.
Possibility, Mr. Howard, that there was some connection between Oswald and Ruby, that they had met or knew each other?
There is that wild rumor going around. So far as I know and so far as I am concerned, I don't think there's a bit of truth in that.
A performer at Mr. Ruby's club said that he thought he saw Oswald there some days ago.
I think he was mistaken.
This is a memory expert. A person who does that kind of a performance.
In what cases have you represented Mr. Ruby in the...
Is it true? Have you seen the map the Dallas Morning News says was found by the police?
No, I haven't.
One more question, Mr. Howard. Is it true that Mr. Ruby may have left certain personal effects like identification and money in his car? Yesterday, the car was found in a parking lot adjacent to police headquarters.
He could have. I don't know.
Mr. Howard, you say that you have had some support evidence in your defense of Ruby. Have you had any adverse telephone calls or anything such as that?
Had one crank call, you know, the kind you get in cases like this.
To what effect?
Oh, something about the hate group's going to get you or something like that. You expect those things in cases
Mr. Howard,
like
does he
this.
realize that what he's done perhaps create a question for the rest of history, who killed President Kennedy?
Can you explain why during his presence here prior to the shooting, he must have been within close proximity of Oswald, but apparently then never showed any emotional outbursts or never said anything? He was here at times when it is believed that Oswald would have passed him by. He was around a group of people. Did this build up, this emotional?
I'm sure it's built up over a period of several days. I'm going to represent him in the manner that I think is for his best interest.
What is his best interest?